So, welcome to this last webcast from the FTTH Conference here in Stockholm and Stockholmsmässan. I'm Sjodin from Telecomnyheterna, the media partner of the FTTH Conference. And with me, I have Hartwig Tauber, the General Manager of FTTH Council Europe, and Nadia Babaali, the
Communications Director.
The Communications Director. That's cool. We're in Stockholm. We've been in Stockholm for three days. Hartwig, can you say what has been the best?
The best has been Stockholm in a whole. It was a real big show. We are really proud of having this show here up in the Nordics, and it was huge. We can really say it was again the biggest FTTH show in the world. 3,000 people coming here, showing up in the exhibition hall, in the conference. 84 countries being presented in Stockholm, which means, of course, it's got some kind of world capital of fiber in the last days. And we had already the workshops, which is normally a small part of the conference, 1,300 delegates listening to very specific topics. So I would say the best on Stockholm it was a wonderful conference, and we really appreciated to be here.
Nadia, you're...
Yes, I think what I could add is that, of course, I'm also extremely pleased, and I think people are walking around with smiling faces in the expo and in the conference room, so it shows that people are quite happy. The food was very nice, and we even had snow today, which a lot of people expected here in Stockholm. But what I would add to Hartwig's remarks is that the theme of this conference is showcasing a brighter future, and this is why we came to Stockholm, one of the historic leaders in fiber to the home, where, because fiber was deployed such a long time ago, we have this unique chance of seeing the services that are FTTH enabled. And so it is a real showcase of those services as well. And that was extremely interesting.
To summarize this event, you started up with the workshops, which had a fantastic crowd. I mean, 1,300 instead of 8. I've heard a number earlier about 800 was the expected number of participants, and you reached almost a double.
Yes, this was a very big success for us. We 2 years ago started with this workshop, saying we want to, in addition to the normal conference tracks, give the people the possibility to really dig deep into a specific topic, be it technology, regulation, services. And that's why we started up these workshops, not knowing how much attraction they will get. And from day one, they were really one of the success factors, again, of this conference. And this year, we made it in a way that we said, let's have 12 of these workshops in parallel. Let's offer our members the possibility to work together to create very specific workshops, and it really worked out very well. And the interesting thing was, even we had a broad range of topics, as I said, starting from technology, services, regulation, all these kind of things. All of these topics were appreciated by the people, which shows us that the delegates coming to our conference really cover the whole value chain of fiber networks, starting from the planning and technology part up to the financial part, to the implementation and running part. And I believe that's a very good news for us.
Were there any of these workshops that had more participants than you had expected?
We had a lot of participants in the workshop of World of Applications, where we said, what can you do with fiber networks? And we were really surprised about the huge group. This was the workshop. We even had to move from one room to another one because the number of seats suddenly was too small, and the number of people who wanted into the room exceeded the capacity. And so we even had to do some logistics. And that's something I really want to mention here, the flexibility of the Stockholmsmässan, the venue, that did a great job in accommodating all these special things for us, which really meant people felt well treated, felt well serviced, even if there is small changes in the program. That's perfect.
Have there been a lot of talking after the workshops? Have you heard anything specific? Are people talking about it?
Indeed, one of the most things I heard was people asking, have you been at the workshops? And the other says, no, unfortunately not. And then the answer was, oh, then you missed something. So we hope that next year this means a lot of people who just arrived for the conference will then join the workshops too, because they realized this is a real added value to the conference. And from the topic-wise, we had two conference workshop tracks, or two workshops running on technology. One on the basic information about fiber, so what is it, how can you install it, what is the technology behind it, and one that went further into details, what are the new trends. And I realized here, even you would say most of the people know everything about fiber, that these were really the workshops where a lot of people said, it was a perfect source for me to get either an update or to really get a deep insight into the topic from the technology side.
So that was the highlights of the workshop day, you can say.
Indeed.
And then the first real conference day, you made a surprising entrance. The both of you came down from sky, like the brightness of the industry.
Yes, actually, we came down. Actually, the brightness of the industry is another way of putting it, but it was actually meant as fiber-enabled super citizens, which was one of the themes of this conference, because it's based on the showcase of the services and showing how people, when they have these applications and services, become a different person and get enabled, get a special power. They have more time, to spend with their families and things like that. And so I invite the viewers of this interview to actually check out the clip of the opening session, because then they can see the opening clip and our descent onto the stage.
Were you ever afraid? Because I'm really afraid of high heights. And being sent down like that, I would have been really afraid, especially of being stuck up there, hanging on the middle.
Yes, it was. No, it was not scary, but yes, we were hanging in the dark before we came down. That was fun. It was great fun. I really enjoyed it. We had to do it at some point, and we did it this year. And I'm glad we did this in Stockholm also. It was fun.
Yeah, and then you started up with several famous speakers. You had the main speaker for that morning was Anna-Karin Hatt, the Swedish IT minister, IT and energy minister. Any special remarks on her speech?
Yes, we were really pleased, of course, that we had such high-level people from Sweden at the conference, because this shows the strong support of Sweden, of the government, of the local authorities here in Stockholm for such a conference and for fiber to the home. And the messages from the minister were really strong, saying that you need to think about the fact that she's representing a government that already started 14 years ago talking about fiber, which means they are much more ahead than many other governments in Europe. And so if you heard your messages, you saw it's already 3 steps further than what you see in other countries. For example, the message saying, yes, we have done the first 2 million households, but now we need to continue to make the next ones ready to really fiberize the whole of Sweden, to make sure that inclusion is done, which means really everyone gets fiber. I think that's strong messages, because that really says we take it serious. We want to create a very positive environment to get fiber to the home done. And this, of course, is one of the most important things to make fiber to the home happening, because it enables the projects, the investors, the operators to start deploying the fiber networks, or to continue to deploy it, because they really find a very positive environment.
Do you think other politicians from other countries will get inspired by this speech?
We would be happy to see this. So having maybe in a few years the German Chancellor Angela Merkel getting on stage and saying we want to fiberize our 40 million households, that would be a nice message, instead of saying we just want to get 50 megabit done in the next years, because that's something we don't need to do some efforts on. So I think it would be nice if the message could be taken as an example, and then, like we said, showcasing a brighter future, realizing let's implement it everywhere in Europe.
Were there anything else worth mentioning from the speeches that morning, yesterday?
From my side, all the speeches were impressive. Impressive in a way that the messages were strong. They were all pro-fiber. They had, thinking about the mayor of Stockholm, for example, saying that by having this fiber network in place again, don't forget, they started deploying the fiber 20 years ago. They already have earned back the investment and had a benefit out of it, just due to the fact that out of cheaper connections for the municipality, out of health services they could optimize, and all these kind of effects, it already had a positive effect on the city itself. I believe that's also a strong message, because that means it is more than fast internet. It is an infrastructure that helps the society and even helps the whole economy at the end. And therefore, the speech that followed the mayor by the regulator supporting this and saying, again, we need to make sure that everyone gets it. So that he called it inclusion, and I like this word. This was really, really great messages.
Yeah, I heard about the Göran Marby speech. Göran Marby, the regulator here in Sweden, and also the boss of BEREC.
Yes, that's the good thing for us this year. Göran Marby is, of course, the chairman of the PTS, the Post and Telecom Authority, and he's representing all the regulators from all of Europe in the body of European regulators for electronic communication. As you said, BEREC. They always have huge names for it, and I believe that's a strong signal, because this could help to get also the message through the regulators in other countries in Europe, and we are really happy about this.
Were there anything else worth mentioning from yesterday? Did you catch up any talk of the town yesterday evening? What were people talking about? Were there any seminars or speakers that...
Yes, I was surprised that people, first of all, and I need to mention this, we had this year a different way of creating the program, in a way that we said, let's bring in new topics and let's bring in new speakers to get new aspects into the conference. And this was one of the discussions in the evening where the people reacted very positive. Just to do a quick summary, we had the Nordic operators showing how they deployed fiber, and there were a lot of people discussing it and saying how could they do it, why was the market environment so positive for them. And of course, when we heard the message that they have not too big problems to connect users, that they say, but then user demand is there. So these were the messages that came out of these, we call it FTTH in the Nordic sessions. Then we had a very lively discussion on the regulatory and policy side. Normally this is the dry things where you talk about legal stuff, but this year we said, let's have an open discussion between the different stakeholders from Europe, but also outside Europe. So we had people from Asia here, we had people from the US here, and we had two speakers, one from the European Commission and one from the Parliament here. And the debate that started there was, I would say, more than lively. So some things were discussed in a more direct way than you would sometimes expect it on stage. This is something, if someone watches the recording of these sessions, this is a highlight. I would have a look at it. In addition, we had, of course, the update of our market data. So we presented yesterday in detail how did the fiber market develop and how will it look like in the next 5 years, with the good news that we have a good increase of fiber connections last year, and which is, I think, even more important on the business case side, the take-up rate. That means the percentage of households who connect to an existing fiber network increased relatively strongly last year, which means the operators really started to feel end users have the demand for fiber. This session with the market data was then closed with a discussion of the global FTTH councils, which was a unique opportunity to have a full global overview what was happening on all the fiber markets all over the world. And I heard a lot of people saying, wow, this is on one spot, the whole world summarized, and by people who are living there and know their markets very well. On the technology side, we had 2 sessions that really showed the newest solutions of fiber, and these rooms were again packed with people because they wanted to listen what are the new technologies, what are the new products, and what are the new solutions to install these products. So this was a talk of course of the more technical experts at the end, and we also started a new track this year on gaming, on computer gaming, and we had an interesting experience with this one because a lot of people seemed not to dare to go into this session because gaming is still a bit of a strange topic.
It's for the young ones.
Yes, like me.
Yeah.
I am a gamer, I admit this, so I love gaming. And the interesting thing was those who dared or who went there came out afterwards and said, hey, this is something we should focus more on because it's a completely new idea to do. So there was a lot of discussions just about the first day yesterday.
And if you want to catch up with this, you could always log into tv.fttHcouncil.eu, where we have collected all of these streams. Nadia, what were your largest highlights from yesterday?
I think the highlights would be for me on the services side, and I think to build on what Hartwig said on the opening speakers, I think the good news is that with hindsight, politicians on national, local level, regulatory level, they are all saying it was the right thing to do, which a lot of governments in other countries who have not yet made the decision to go for fiber to the home would see from that clear message that even though they started already 20 years ago in Sweden, they are saying we need to do more and we need to continue because it was the right thing to do. I think that is a huge positive message on top of, and that is actually proven by the fact that customers want fiber and will pay for it if it is available. So I think it's really, that was really a highlight for me. And I think what we see here as a showcase of FTTH-enabled services and applications, so not just in the conference, but also in the expo. And actually in what is happening today, there are some sessions where we invited, yesterday there was a session on the smart everything, where people talked about all the different from smart grid to connected objects. And today we have some sessions on e-health and e-care. Hartwig talked about the gaming industry, which, by the way, Sweden is really strong in that field. So there's really a huge range of opportunities for innovations in services enabled by fiber to the home. And so several sessions covered those topics yesterday and also today.
Yeah. And this morning wasn't only presenting a brighter future, it presented also a brighter Stockholm with lots of snow for our delegates to walk here in. And the morning started with the prize ceremony.
Yes, this morning it is a tradition that the FTTH Council Europe has a prize which is called the FTTH Council Europe Award. And that award is given to one individual and one operator. So there are two awards, actually, who in the past year have made a significant contribution to FTTH adoption in Europe. And this year was extremely interesting. The Operator Award was awarded to Vodafone for its FTTH rollouts in Portugal, Spain, and Italy. And the individual award was given to Sir Charles Cow, who is the person who won the Nobel Prize in 2009 for inventing the way that we use fiber optics for communications, by the way. It's a Nobel Prize in physics. And his wife, Gwen Cow, came all the way from Hong Kong to collect this prize, since Sir Charles Cow suffers from Alzheimer's disease. And she is absolutely amazing. She's fantastic. I think you had her here in the studio.
Yeah, we had her here in the studio, and she was absolutely fantastic.
Such a sweet lady, and very well informed. She attended all the sessions and came back to me before she left today. She said, yes, it was so interesting. So I think, it was really great to have her here.
Yeah. And then you continued with some speakers. You had, for instance, Piers O'Donoghue from EU.
Yeah, we had two high-level people from the European Union. One was Piers O'Donoghue, the deputy head of the cabinet of Commissioner Cruz, so from the DG Connect, and we had MEP Hökmark. We call him the Mr. Gigabit of the European Parliament because he was the first one, clearly also in Parliament, saying we need gigabit speeds, and that's quite a strong push forward. And it was really interesting to hear both of them giving their messages that I would say the Commission, of course, tries always to stay technology neutral, but still that's slight twist towards fiber, so they understand there is no way out, that in one point of time fiber is necessary. Of course, our Mr. Gigabit, so MEP Hökmark, he could be more direct. So he really made some strong statements saying we need to go. And it was fascinating sitting in the audience and sometimes seeing him addressing directly the Mr. O'Donoghue saying, we need to do. So this is quite a strong way of communicating. Of course, that Mr. Hökmark is also from Sweden, helped a lot towards this one, but I believe that was a real good opening session, and so this is something we for sure will do again in the next conference.
Yeah, and from today's seminars, do you have any highlights? Have you heard anything special?
We had, of course, following the opening ceremony, we had again a CEO panel. This is every year a very big project to bring high-level CEOs into our conference, and we had people from the industry. We had the CEO of TE Connectivity, Tom Lynch here. We had CEOs from operators here, like Telenor, from companies like Scanova. And I think this makes a really nice combination of high-level decision makers in the industry and in the operator side who give their insights. And having them at the FTTH conference, which means we also can show them our messaging, and then seeing, like today in the CEO panel, that they are in line with most of what we are saying is a very positive signal for us. And I think that's a good way forward.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that debate from the floor when I've been out walking. Yeah. Lots of people are talking about that CEO panel. Anything more?
Yes, I mean the program was of course continuing running, so we had a lot of sessions running today. I was surprised we had one academic session, which means we invited a university saying, look, you have a session, talk about your approach on fiber. And they decided to do an applied approach. So not a theoretical one, but saying what are the typical issues on business case, on users experience and this kind of stuff. And I was surprised because it was one of the sessions now in the afternoon, and they had a huge crowd of people sitting in, listening to these kind of topics. Of course, getting them in a different way. So it's interesting to see that the academic world, at least of the applied sciences part, is very close to the industry today. So this really worked out well. Again, today we had sessions on technology, which were extremely successful. And Nadia mentioned it, we had application sessions during the day on e-health. So we called it FTTH Can Save Your Life. On entertainment, where we heard about new ways of watching TV. And we saw very clearly these are topics that we need to cover, because this is how to fill the pipe. And here I heard just when I came in here already people talking about this, and then of course getting to things like 4K TV and realizing this is reality and not something that is coming in many years from now.
Yeah. And it's a few hours to go here in Stockholm, and then next year we're going to Warsaw in Poland.
Indeed, that will be a change. Yes, we are going to Warsaw in Poland. The FTTH market is really growing in the eastern part of Europe now, where the broadband networks are usually quite obsolete. So there is a big move to renew the infrastructure and build fiber to the home networks, because it is a no-brainer. If you are building a network, then you are going to build a fiber to the home network. And we wanted to move also our event, which is changing. We move from one city to the next every year. We wanted to also move towards the eastern side of Europe. And so this is why we decided to go to Warsaw. Even though Poland so far is not yet in the ranking of countries where more than 1% of the population is connected to fiber to the home, which means there is still work to be done there. And I hope that having our event in Warsaw will also raise the awareness of politicians, end users, even operators, investors about fiber. And I think this is something that I would also say that you can really see here in Sweden, is that there is general awareness about fiber to the home, not just in the telecoms industry, but the politicians, the end users, people know about that. And that is key to the development of end user demand, of course. If the end user does not hear about it, then, yeah.
Have you set any topic, any headline for the Warsaw event?
We will soon be working on this, but we already have selected a venue and we already have dates. So I can tell you that it will be from the 10th to the 12th of February 2015 in Expo 21, which is a big congress center, sorry, a big exhibition center in Warsaw.
Cool, that will be amazing to go to Poland. Don't think I've been there ever.
Well,
So then it's a great chance for you
Yeah,
to get there.
So to summarize Stockholm, if you could do an extremely short executive summary of the Stockholm event, what would you say?
can I start?
Yes.
I will just say one thing. FTTH enabled super citizen.
And it showcases a brighter future. It was just great to be here.
Thank you very much for coming to my hometown. And then we are finishing the last webcast from this year's FTTH conference, the largest FTTH event in the world, in Stockholm this year. Thank you very much for watching us.